everyone. Good morning, students. Hope you'll be fine at your respective places. We were discussing this Kelvin cycle, and the third stage of this Kelvin cycle, जो हम पढ़ लेंगे, that is regeneration. That is regeneration. We have already discussed it. First, that is the carboxylation. With second one, we have discussed this reduction. Now we will take up this third, that is regeneration. What happens in this regeneration? We will try to discuss that. Now, what is this regeneration? It is simply the regeneration of RUBP, ribulose 1,5-biphosphate, or simply ribulose, biphosphate or diphosphate. In the second step, that is the reduction step, में हमने क्या देखा कि fructose 6 phosphate is formed. This fructose 6 phosphate, it undergoes what we call as trans ketolase reaction, and this trans ketolase reaction, it removes two top carbons. And these two top carbons are removed as TPP. What we call this as thymine pyrophosphate, as TPP, thymine pyrophosphate, and second one जो वहां पर हमको बनता है, that is E4P. And what is this E4P? It is erythrose 4-phosphate. So what happens? This F6 phosphate, it undergoes trans ketolase reaction, and during this reaction, two top carbons are removed. They are removed as TPP, thymine pyrophosphate, and what we will call as second one, this E4P, which is called as the erythrose 4-phosphate. Now this erythrose 4-phosphate, it undergoes condensation. It condenses by one more reaction that is called as aldolase reaction. By aldolase reaction, this E4P, it undergoes aldolase reaction with DHAP, and it forms the pseudoheptulose diphosphate, is a 7-carbon compound, which is simply called as SDP. And this SDP, or this pseudoheptulose diphosphate, it is converted by a second energy liberating step to 7-heptulose to pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate, which is S7P. And in this reaction, this what we call this pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate. So I will first repeat this. F6 phosphate, that is the fructose 6 phosphate, it undergoes a trans ketolase reaction that removes the two top carbons as the thymine pyrophosphate, and E4-phosphate, that is the erythrose 4-phosphate. This erythrose 4-phosphate, it condenses by aldolase reaction with dihydroxyacetone phosphate to form acidohaptulose diphosphate SDP. And this acidohaptulose diphosphate की अगर हम बात कर लेंगे, it is then converted by a second energy liberated step to the acidohaptulase 7-phosphate. This 7-S-phosphate या acidohaptulose 7-phosphate undergoes again transketolase reaction. So we will see this 7-haptulose, this undergoes what we will call as 7-haptulose. What we will see, this acidohaptulose 7-phosphate, it again undergoes transketolase reaction. Transketolase reaction in which two carbons are removed. First one as TPP glycoaldehyde. Two top carbons are removed as TPP glycoaldehyde, leaving the pentose ribose 5-phosphate. Simply phosphate, ribose 5-phosphate. And this is then converted into ribulose 5-phosphate, by means of an enzyme which is called as phosphopentose isomerase. This TPP glycoaldehyde is transferred to PGA forming xylulose 5-phosphate which is converted into ribulose 5-phosphate. So what we will see that this PGA, this what we call as the TPP glycoaldehyde जो है, it is transferred, या हम कहेंगे it is transferred to the PGA forming xylulose 5-phosphate, which is converted into ribulose 5-phosphate by means of an enzyme phosphopentose epimerase. And this is then phosphorylated by what we call as this ribulose 5-phosphate is converted into what we call as this ribulose 5-phosphate जो हम कहेंगे. What we'll see, यहाँ पर हम क्या देखते हैं कि then it ultimately forms the ribulose biphosphate and ADP. In this way, this whole reaction जो है, it gets concluded. This was all about this Calvin cycle. We will proceed further in the next video. Until then, goodbye. God bless you. Thanks.